Welcome everyone as you join. Thanks for finding time and for joining on time.
Hey, wamegoja.
5 minutes, Wamae joins us. We understand you had a long day, board meetings and all. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We are going to start in the next 2 minutes. We're just allowing more people to join, and then we will begin. But thanks so much for joining us. For those who are coming for the second webinar, we had the last one last month with Joseph Choge of Unga Group. And today we are very privileged to have a very interesting speaker who I'll be introducing shortly. This is part of the webinar series we are doing as CareerSight, just to bring different mentors, people we look up to, people with amazing stories, to share their stories with us. So yeah, thanks for joining today, and we look forward to having you for more. If you have suggestions of people you want to hear from, do let us know and we can queue them up for the next sessions. But asanteni sana, I can see a number of our friends, partners, colleagues on the thread so far. Asanteni sana. Okay. So in the interest of just appreciating everyone who keeps time, I think we can proceed and start. So this evening for the CareerSight webinar series, I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Mary, who considers herself a simple village girl from Tetu. That's how she defines herself. But Mary is far from simple, from what I know. She's the executive director of Equity Group Holdings, a position she has held for over 20 years. And she has really been at the front and center and really at the heart of growing Equity to what it is today. For those of us who know that journey, we know that it's really, really been a lot. So I'm very privileged today as a CareerSight founder and patron to host her for this CareerSight webinar series. CareerSight is a mentorship organization. We work with institutions, we work with schools, with people who are looking to grow in their careers and in their personal lives, and we'll be telling you more about our programs. Grace, the CEO, will speak at the end of this session. But yeah, into the exciting part, hearing more from Mary about her journey. So Mary, I think I can hand over to you to just tell us in 5 minutes, who is Mary? What are you about? Apart from what we see, what is Mary about? Karibu sana.
Thanks a lot, Phyllis. I hope you can hear me. And
loud and clear.
Thanks for having me this evening. Yeah, my apologies. I am a bit ruffled, having been in two days of board meetings for South Sudan. But I am happy to be here. Thanks for the invite. And Mary is, as you say, the village girl. And some people just tell me, we refuse that title because you are not the village girl. The Mary we know is not the village girl. But I call myself the village girl, or rather in the book, that's what I've called myself, because that is my foundation. That's where I was born. And I went through all the experiences that any young girl growing up in the village in the 70s, because that's when I grew up, went through all those experiences. Some of them are very, very nice, some of them not so nice. Yeah, but here I am now, Group Executive Director of Equity Group Holdings Limited. Equity Group Holdings PLC is a financial services group with businesses in 6 countries in Kenya and the region. And I must say that I'm really proud of how far I've been able to get in the course of the 20 years now I've been in equity. 13 years before that in private legal practice, because I'm also a lawyer by training. Yeah, so I think for me, I must say that I have been actualized in a way in the last 32 or so years since I left college or law school in 1991. Yeah, that's who I am.
Oh, that's great. So I assume you're part of MV90.
Yes. MV90 are the proud lot of lawyers who graduated in the
Yes.
year 1990. I'm
Yes.
sure you know, I know you know.
I know a lot
Some
about
of them,
MV90.
we call ourselves sailors. We are proud the
Yes.
sailors of MV90, the vessel.
Yes.
And we have come together as alumni of 1990 Law School in a very
Yes.
amazing way, supporting each other, celebrating each other, crying with each other when we need to cry with each other. So it's just been very, very great to be part of that group.
Yeah, I think that's really been an amazing part of your journey, and how your classmates and your alumni from university have kept very close. I see all of you supporting each other. I saw them during your book launch, well represented. You mentioned them in your book, so I'm sure they've really been a big, big part of your journey. And just reflecting on the journey over from 1990 to where you are today, what is your reflection?
I think it's been a combination of many learnings, new experiences every single day, because I count myself very lucky because I have gone through experiences that not many people will probably get the opportunity to do, maybe in their lifetime. I've also gone through the usual challenges, some unusual challenges. But more importantly, I must say that I've gone through several milestones. I've achieved a lot since that time. But I think, let me say that one thing that strikes me most is my ability to transition, which not many people are able to do, from being a trained lawyer in the legal profession. And I must say that I really enjoyed my private practice as a lawyer, which I started in the 90s, and then I went on into the 2000, about 4 years thereafter, before equity came calling, and I couldn't say no. Yeah, so it's been a very exciting journey, also making that transition from legal practice into banking and financial services, not having had any training, as a financial or a financial person or as a banker. It has been very exciting making that transition. And it's one of the things that I've talked about, in the book, with a lot of pride, and also as an encouragement to the others who may be thinking about making a transition, because transitions are very difficult and sometimes we can give up and think we are not up to it. But I think based on my own experience, I can say that it can be done, and it can be done very, very successfully. Let me not say seamlessly, because you encounter some obstacles along the way. But at the end of the day, I must say that I am happy with the progress, and I'm happy with how it turned out eventually, and what eventually I have become as Mary. So, yeah, just as an encouragement to others.
That's amazing that you talk about transitions. In CareerSight, one of the things we try to do is to support people through transitions, because we believe that mentorship is a key part of transition. So as you're looking to choose your career, as you're getting into the job environment, as you're growing into management, as you're growing into executive leadership. So you talked about transitions, and in those transitions, do you have any specific mentors you can speak about who helped you through the different transitions you had to go through in your career?
Oh, yeah, Phyllis, if I didn't have the mentors, then I would have remained in the village.
I know.
Yeah. So the fact that I'm not in the village anymore,
Yes.
it means I got some very good mentors, but surprise
Yes.
of surprise, my first mentor, guess who it was? It was my mom.
Your mom, yeah, that's always
And
an
my
amazing
mom was,
mentor.
let me say, not entirely very literate in our
Yes.
usual definition of the
Mm-hmm.
word. And here I
Mm-hmm.
mean just by the fact that she only went up to primary school.
Yes.
And because she had two brothers and her parents were not very well gifted in terms of, they were not well off, and they didn't have enough to educate three kids to secondary school.
Yeah.
So in the usual tradition that time, it happened to many girls. The brothers were chosen over her for secondary education. She had actually been admitted to Mogoiri Girls, as I learned later. Anyone from Mogoiri, she was to be an alumni, but she never made it because she could not be able to afford the school fees based on that's quite early in the years, just before the first, just around the Second World War when it started. And she started doing some odd jobs in the church because the missionaries had just come into our village. Munungaine is one of the areas where they came, and she used to support. She used to actually educate other girls as a catechist in the church. So that's as much as she did in education. But there's one thing that she told me, Phyllis, that I will never forget. And she told me, Mary, I don't have, because she was a single peasant mother, I don't have any land to give you. Even what I have now, we are fighting with our uncles. And I don't have any money. I don't have any property that I can give you. So the only way that you can get yourself out of here is by working very hard in school. And that is what she facilitated me to do. And I went to school with that one single determination that I was going to conquer, and I was going to do what I needed to do, work very hard, pass my exams very well, and reach the highest that I could in terms of education. And that is the spirit within which I sat for my certificate of primary education. And I scored the top marks that had ever been scored in that school, as at that time, not just by a girl, but even by a boy. Even my older brothers, they are not scored higher marks than me. So for me, that was the beginning of my mentorship. But then along the way, I also encountered, even when I went to school, because I was a very hardworking student, I got a lot of teachers to support me as my mentors, both in secondary school, high school, and then, of course, at the university. So that helped me a lot in terms of, upping my game, really being able to focus, having the discipline to study when I needed to study, because I also saw a lot of my, colleagues falling off in school. So I really attribute that to the mentorship that I received at various levels. And then, of course, when it came to working, especially in equity, I got, I must say that I was lucky that my mentor was and has been my group CEO, Dr. Mwangi, because I worked with him very closely. And he really encouraged me, even when I was transitioning, from being in legal practice to the bank. He said, I believe in you, and I know you can make it in banking. We want to build a big bank, and I know you can help me, and I know you can make it. So you build your career as we build the bank and as we build the customers that we support. And we also build our colleagues, the ones that we are working with. So that was a very good note to start on. And that is now 20 years ago in equity. And that mentorship has continued. Sometimes it's by talking, sometimes it's just sitting in a management meeting, executive meeting, sometimes it's just observing how things are done. And I built those experiences over time. Yeah, so
No,
yeah,
thanks.
the
That's amazing.
yeah,
And you've
yeah,
articulated it so well. A lot of us, even for me, my mom was my greatest mentor. And after
yes.
that, the teachers we have in school, the people around us, and they help us to really build some of those most important characteristics like the resilience, the hard work, being able to pursue things and keep going and seeing them to their logical conclusion. And I'm happy to see that Dr. James Mwangi wrote the foreword in your book. Being
Yes.
your great mentor, you've actually remembered to also have him in your book. But as you think about mentorship as a recipe for success, what, in your view, are the essential ingredients that make up mentorship, and what represents you as a mentor? Because you've talked about being mentored, but you've definitely, I know you're a great mentor. So what do you think you give people as a mentor?
It depends. The first thing I do is to, of course, assess where you are, because you see, I mentor many people from primary school kids, even those nieces and nephews,
Yeah.
when they are growing up and they are looking at you and they are thinking, wow, a woman driving a car, that's a big
Oh
thing.
my, I
That's a
know.
big thing for them.
Yes.
So they look up to you, and there are some nieces of mine, when they come to my house, they're always admiring. They have to
Yeah.
come when I'm driving in and driving out just to see
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And he is driving in. So mentorship starts at different levels. So there are those primary. So those ones, what you need to do is to just inspire them that they can become anything, and it is good to be successful. I think that's where the
Yeah.
dream starts. I
Yeah.
want to be like Auntie Wangari. That's what they say.
Yeah.
But it's because they observe you and they admire what you have become. So there's mentorship actually by observation. So it
I
also
love
means that we have to be very careful how we carry ourselves, what we say to those young ones, what we say to others when they are hearing, because sometimes they learn by observation. Then, of course, we have the more mature mentees. And here we have the young upcoming professionals. I am happy that I have many of them in the bank. And the one thing I observed is that in a banking institution, at the entry level, we are almost 50-50, especially the girls, the women.
Yeah.
But as we go up, the numbers sort of like go down, the percentage of women in leadership. And I really wanted to understand, that got my attention. And I really wanted to understand, what is it that is holding my female colleagues back?
Yeah.
And that is when I discovered that, we have that thing of confidence. To take a new challenge, confidence to take a more challenging position, confidence to take up the KPIs yourself. You don't have to hide behind your team or behind your team members or behind your leader. You take them on yourself. And that was a challenge. So for that type of mentees, like I have in the bank, it is trying to build their confidence that you can do it, you can go for it, and you can get it. And actually, so we started the program, which is called Equip. And the testimonies I'm getting is that it has helped a lot of them to build their confidence. So that is one ingredient whereby you just start by building the confidence, because they have the technical expertise, they have the technical know-how, but they need to build their confidence to go for it. Now, for all the mentees, whether they are female or whether they are male, there's one thing that I must talk to them about. And that is, you have the technical competence in a certain area. But you will need to keep on developing yourself in order to be able to become competitive in a very competitive market, or become attractive in a very competitive market. Now, if you decide to go into business, it is also important for you to understand the trends, what is going on. Because that's the only way then you get your business to be ahead of everybody else and relevant to your market. there are different perspectives that you have to look at, irrespective of whether you're employed or whether you're self-employed, trying to build. And I know a lot of the young people are being very bold, and they are starting their own businesses. Some very exciting ventures and innovations are happening, and they are bold enough to do that. Maybe some boldness that some of us did not have when we were younger. And I really admire them for that. So what is important is for them to just really understand, how to, adapt themselves to the times. Now, there's another kind of mentorship that I talk about, because people ask me, how have you gotten to that level where you sit on the board of equity, the group company, and also all the subsidiaries? What do I need to become a board member? And I do mentorship as part of my give back, especially through the Women's on Board Network. What I tell them is, first of all, before you ask me how I can become a board member, tell me, what value can I add to an institution like Equity if they selected me as a board member? That's the first question I ask them. You want to become a board member? Yeah, which company? It could be EABL, it could be Equity, it could be Safaricom, it could be, name it. It could also be a not-for-profit. It could be any, you name it. It could be a fintech or something, in the innovation space. Yeah. So what I tell them is, ask yourself, what do I bring on the table? Because the moment you answer that question, that's the only time anybody would be interested in selecting you out of the thousands and millions of CVs that are available to them. That's why they will select. So it depends. But I think there are also issues about attitude, our attitude towards work, our attitude towards others, our ability to, to manage our interpersonal relationships with others at all levels, upwards, at peer level, downwards, our direct reports and others. All that plays in, depending on what somebody wants and what problem or how they want to get ahead and at what level they are. So I must say that it's not really a one size fits all kind of scenario. When I do mentorship, even sometimes I talk to you, like 1 hour, 30 minutes, and I select a book for you. And the books that I select for my mentees are as varied as they are. There's some I give the 12 women of the Bible. Because I determine that's what they require.
What they need. Yeah.
I get a testimony. Wow, this has really helped me
to
put a lot of things into perspective.
So in your own way, you're doing mentorship needs assessment. So you don't just prescribe the same thing for everyone, but you actually look at the need.
But I do it anyway.
Yeah, but that's true. That's how mentorship is done. But I like you spoke about something so important about self-awareness, about us knowing ourselves, what value we bring to the table, who are we, what's our personality? Because sometimes that on its own can really open up doors for you when you understand yourself and the value that you bring. You also spoke about the issue of leading yourself, the ability to know how to lead yourself, to be disciplined before you can even lead others. So I think very, very profound wisdom there. But when you think about all this journey and the mentorship that you've been through, what would you say is a valuable piece of advice that you remember that has carried you through different phases? It can be one or two, but what valuable piece of advice can you draw from a mentor?
Okay, I think the one who told me this is not quite he was not a mentor. I've talked about him in the book, the landlord who told me, you are a lawyer. You are a very stupid lawyer. I've never met such a stupid lawyer. So that guy just, he demolished me at that time.
For context, maybe you can tell the group what happened.
You see what I had done, Phyllis, is when I decided to set up my private practice.
Yes.
And of course, I didn't have a lot of money. I was just paid a small salary. I had 2 babies to look after. And then I decided to set up my practice. And I'm wondering, how do I do this thing? So instead of getting an office directly, I told a friend to get for me an office. And he said, oh, a friend of mine has an office. So in their building.
Yes.
So you come, I'll introduce you. So we talked, and within a day I had an office in Luthuli House. Some of you may not even know where Luthuli House is. Maybe I'll take you out of these days, So, and then it turns out that this guy is a tenant in the building, but now I'm his tenant and I'm paying him rent religiously every month. So I was there for, I think, 2 or 3 months. And then one morning, I see some guys, very huge, very stern-looking, aggressive guys coming in. And they told me, we are coming to carry everything you own here. You haven't paid rent for, I don't know for how many months. And I'm like, no, but I've paid. I have even receipts. So, so I said, can I talk to the landlord? And he said, no, but the documents we have here are not showing your name.
Your name is not. Oh my.
So eventually I went now to plead with the landlord and told him, I'm sorry, but your guys are here now. Me, I've been paying. So he looked at me and he asked me, are you a lawyer? And I said, yes, I am. Now this time I'm very embarrassed. Because
you've been subleasing there. Oh my.
What a blunder. And he told me, you're the most stupid lawyer I've ever met.
Yes.
If you are a lawyer, if you are a trained lawyer. He's even now doubting whether I'm a lawyer.
I even went to school. Oh my.
The lesson I learned, because eventually he forgave me.
Yeah.
And he allowed me time, to get an office now directly from him and move to that office. But I think for me, that was a very big lesson as I started my business as a lawyer, as a legal practitioner.
Yes.
And the first one was first to do my homework. And secondly, not to be stupid, because I had actually been very stupid.
Yeah.
By taking a subtenancy, I knew it was not, my rights were not guaranteed as a subtenant, but, I had taken a chance. So those are the kind of mistakes that you almost create negligently.
Yeah.
You make mistakes negligently sometimes. Because this thing is going to land me into trouble.
But you still go ahead and do it.
What could I have done at that point in time? There was no going back, but he was a very good man. And actually, he became now my mentor because he had done very well in business. And I used to talk to him. I became his lawyer. He finally he
realized you're a real lawyer.
But that was lesson number 1. And I will never forget it. So even when now I came to Equity to discharge my duties as the company secretary to the board, and of course, I'm sure you are aware we have done a lot of acquisitions, banks, everything. So I am very, very careful. I'm very careful, and I don't leave anything to chance.
Amazing.
Before I sign on the dotted line, even my colleagues know that I ask a lot of questions.
Yes.
If the answers are not clear, I will send it back.
Amazing.
For clarification. Yeah.
That I think was so humorous and authentic. Thank you so much for sharing it. In terms of misconceptions, what misconceptions do you think we have about mentorship?
I think one misconception that I know is that mentorship can only be, first of all, done by an older person to a younger person, or a person who is doing better to a person who is not doing as well. And I must say that is not true. Because one of the things that I've come to learn during the course of my mentorship is that I learn a lot also from my mentors, from my mentees.
Your mentees.
Even the students.
Yes.
You know, and I also like when I mentor especially the very young and tech-savvy generation, I learn a lot from them about,
That's so true.
a new way of thinking, how to do things.
Yeah.
They also teach me as I mentor them, and I learn a lot from them.
So reverse mentorship is real.
Yes. And then the other one is that you can only mentor from the top to the bottom. And I know that we can mentor upwards also. There are some of my colleagues who are not as high as I am in rank to me, but every time we have a conversation, I listen and I also learn one or two things. So I would say that mentorship should be an exchange of ideas. It only probably happens that some of us have been in the game for a little bit longer than others. We have more experiences. We've probably gone through some very specific challenges. But at the end of the day, everybody has something that they can teach others. So my principle is this. Anything you learn, when you learn anything, teach others, irrespective of where you are. And the other principle I have is that when you get something, however small it is, share and give to others. That is the principle. So it should be across, not one way.
In your book,
yeah.
In your book, you actually mentioned that your mentee is the one who challenged you to write a book.
Yes.
Yeah, which demonstrates clearly what you're saying, that mentorship can be both ways. But you said something so profound, that mentorship is an exchange of ideas. And all of us have ideas, perspectives, experiences in life that we can share and learn from each other. So it's something that we should encourage. And also having a learning spirit, because there are people also who don't want to learn. But one of the things I always believe, I love learning, and I am always open to learn. And I believe that that's the attitude you also have, of being open to always learn.
Yes, actually, let me tell you, Phyllis, I totally believe that if that mentee had not really stuck onto it, because let me tell you, every time we would meet, he would ask me, chapter what, page what?
Have you written the book?
No. He would not ask me, have you written?
Chapter what?
Chapter what? And look at me straight in the face over coffee.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Now, what happened is that I now started becoming embarrassed because you are telling your mentee, do this, do this, do this.
And you're not
and
doing
you, what you have promised to do, because I had already, he was there when I promised to write a book last birthday.
Yeah.
Now we are like 5 months or 6 months into the year. So he's asking me, chapter what? And I said, wow, I must save myself this embarrassment of being asked by my mentee. Have you written? That's how that book came to be. So one day I just sat down and I started writing. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote.
That's great. But beyond your mentee, why did you write the book? And here is the book, everyone. It's called The Village Guard. We'll tell you more. But yes, why did you write the book, and what impact has writing the book had on your life? And would you encourage other people to write books?
Yes. Let me say that it was actually out of the realization that I have amassed a lot of knowledge. I have gone through very, very big experiences, some of them very positive, some of them not very positive. And then sometimes I realize that we assume that what we know is what other people know. Now, when I posted something on LinkedIn, because I am quite active on LinkedIn, Some of my followers would say, oh, this is so inspiring. Have you written a book? You need to share more of these stories. You know, and those are stories that I used to take for granted, that I know. So it's like everybody else knows.
Them.
Then I realized that not everybody knows what we know or what I know. And then I think I just told myself one day, I think I'm being selfish if I do not share these experiences with somebody. Because I wanted people to know that, and this one I say without any embarrassment, because it is what it is. You can grow up in a village, a small girl who could not even afford a pair of shoes, all the way to when I joined secondary school. And yet it turns out that, you know, I have been able to build a very successful career. Now, a lot of people just say, they complain, oh, you see now, me, I don't have anything, or I come from a very poor background. And so I wanted to encourage everybody who is going through such experiences or who has gone through such experiences and tell them it is possible to change the course of your life. But there are a few things I had to do for me to get where I am now. And the first thing I had to do is, of course, I told you about working really hard in school. For me, school was school. Even during the holidays, I was on my books when I was not in the farm, because I still used to do the chores that everybody used to do in the farm. The cows, the what, they had to eat. I had to cook for my siblings when I needed to. But I still had to work very hard and spare enough time to study. It's hard work. It's hard work. And then even when I got into private practice, I can tell you, the people who are my clients would testify that I did a good job for them, because I would work very hard. I would sleep in the library if I needed to.
Researching, wow.
Research on their case. And then come equity. And I took equity as my passion. And I said, I will join in this story of transformation and build a big bank out of a technical insolvent institution, which it was not by the time I joined, but before that it was. And it was still very small. Phyllis, when I joined equity, it was a 3 billion balance sheet. Kenya shillings, not dollars, Kenya shillings.
Kenya shillings, 500 employees or something.
500 employees.
At the beginning, yeah,
Now,
I remember.
18 branches.
Wow.
Today, we are 1.5 trillion balance sheet. 15 billion USD.
Amazing.
18 million.
What a story of transformation.
And, you know, 13, I think we are now 13,000 plus staff in the group. And we are in 6 countries in the region. And we have already also expanded the model to many things. We have done banking, we have done insurance, we have done tech. We are now doing even health under the group foundation. But it has called for me to dedicate with a passion, and a passion for what I do, because I knew I really wanted to be part of this success story. And it has happened. So that is the story, and that is why I wrote the book. Maybe if I write, somebody is going to read the story, and probably their life will change in a way, or it will refocus them. Because sometimes, you know, Phyllis, sometimes we complain a lot. I could have complained. Oh, my mom was a peasant farmer. She didn't really do anything. This is why I'm so miserable. But I chose not to do that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for all those insights. I know that people have posted a number of questions. Allow me to just read through them. Maybe you can take note and see the ones that you can respond to. Marie Gesare, thanks for joining. She asks on self-awareness, how do you get to know yourself? You could comment on that. How do people get to know themselves? Boniface Otieno, at what point should I make career transitions? From the story you gave us about the mistakes on On the rent, someone says you're very authentic and she appreciates the invite to join this. Some of these mistakes you only make once. Thanks for that, Kerubo. Jane Mbaro says most mentors ask, what exactly do you want? This question puts most of us mentees off because ideally we are already lost, and that is why we are asking for mentorship. Maybe you can help them on how to approach that. How do you know where to start to know what you want? So that's the same person just asking that. Someone else, Audrey, says, I'm a pre-university program alumni, and Miss Mary was among the first women who inspired me in the corporate world. Thank you, Phyllis, for organizing this mentorship session. Someone comments, Lucy, that mentorship happens knowingly and unknowingly. Wayne asks you, which other books have inspired your leadership journey? Laban Cliff Onserio, thank you for posting Mary's LinkedIn. He has posted your LinkedIn and asked people to follow you. He's also asking you on the progress of the CPS as a profession and what part that has played in your journey. Lisa, I've given you so many questions. Let me see if this is the end. At what point in my career should I advance my education to a master's? And how do I know how to pick what to study? So career decisions and when you're advancing. Thanks, Esther Wangai. You say it's good to see me and I always inspire you. Thank you for joining. Judy, amazing story. How have you balanced family and work life over the years? Anne Karanja, very inspiring. Faith Mutuku, every time I hear from Mary, I grow professionally and personally. So those are the comments. You can try responding to some of them and I'll back you up if need be.
Okay, that's
Thank
fine.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think self-awareness is it's about deep reflection and a very honest reflection. Let me tell you this. It's one thing that I know, and it is that I'm a private person, and now you can't imagine that in the context of the institution I serve. So sometimes you have to actually know how do you maneuver this, how do you get to adjust, some of these traits. Sometimes it's just that, you are not very good on interpersonal, but it is something that you have to honestly accept and work at it. And then if there are programs that can help you to improve, if it's a strength, you accentuate the strength, make it more. If it's a challenge, then you get a way of sort of like either overcoming that challenge or getting a way around it when you need to. So it's just about honestly looking at yourself and appreciating you have many strengths, but there are some areas that you may need to develop either by education, some programs. The good thing is that these days you can get almost any help online, all attending a program, attending a webinar, something. They are all there. But that honest evaluation of yourself, that is where you start. And then on the transition, I think sometimes I must say that when equity came calling, I was ready for a transition. And I had already started preparing myself, but not in the direction that it came, actually. But I was feeling like I needed to do something else, other than legal practice, because I felt that much as I loved legal practice with a passion, it was not giving me the fulfillment, and I was not creating the impact that I really wanted to have. Although I used to do pro bono briefs for FIDA, Kituo, Chasheria, and the like, but I didn't feel like it was enough. I was feeling like there's something that is not yet quite there in terms of my own fulfillment, in terms of the impact I wanted to create. So I actually did a diploma in gender and development. That is around 2001. I think that's when I graduated in the University of Nairobi. And that was when I was thinking, oh, should I do human rights or do I join an NGO? So I was already in that phase where I'm thinking, is there something else I can do? And then equity came knocking. And when I looked at, the business model, the corporate philosophies, it was all about empowerment. It was all about transformation. And I felt, wow, this looks very interesting. Maybe this is what I have been looking for, but in a different way. And that is why my answer was yes. So you must, first of all, know what you want. Sometimes it's not very clear, but try something else. And you don't know. The answer will come probably in a very different way, but it will come either way. Now, about mentors being annoying, that's a very interesting one. Most mentors ask, what do you want?
Yes, true. Yeah.
Well, I think everybody has their style, but I think I don't ask you what you want. I just tell me about yourself. What do you do? And in the course of the conversation, a mentor will be able to pick out and know, what are you struggling with? What are your aspirations? So it needs to be over. You cannot actually mentor someone over one coffee. I think it requires you to do that over time. But one conversation should actually lay the basis, because I ask the right questions. What exactly, and what are you going through? I'll be able to know. And then sometimes I actually realize that what you're going through, or what you require, is not even something from the career perspective. There's one lady I actually, took in the direction of find yourself spiritually, because probably that will help you refocus. And that's how we ended the conversation. And that conversation turned around her life, as she told me later. Just one conversation. So it depends on the style, but I guess at the end of the day, what is important is that the mentor understands what your needs are. So that's why you need to work on communicating openly, open communication. And with a mentor, you cannot hide anything, because if you hide anything, there'll be surprises along the way. And then it looks like maybe the mentorship was done out of context. So it is always good to build that trust. That's why even me as a mentor, I have to build the trust, because sometimes you will share very confidential information. One of my principles is that I will never share a conversation with my mentees with anybody, because I have that duty, to protect confidentiality, so that next time somebody is able to open up to me and tell me, by the way, this is the problem, this is what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And it works a lot when that trust is there. Now, thank you, pre-university alumni, Audrey. That's Audrey, I guess.
That's Audrey.
Yeah, so, a lot of the mentorship actually I've done in equity has not been face-to-face. Phyllis, that's another something very unique I've discovered in the course of it. It is sometimes just by observation. People I haven't met tell me, you are my role model. And I ask, wow, do I know you? I don't know you, but they observe you, they follow you, your steps, what you're doing, and they like it. And that inspires them to become better. So yeah, there's also that kind of mentorship. And that's why I said it happens knowingly and unknowingly. Yeah, the CPS has been, for me, I think that has really allowed me to take my governance experience to the next level. And that was very helpful, especially when I was in the role of the company secretary for the group, which I no longer am, but I am still the consultant, and I still do oversight for that role as the executive director in charge of governance. And that also helped me to solidify a lot my principles on governance and integrity. Because remember that governance is all about integrity, first of all, that's the foundation. So I can say that that has helped me a lot in my career. What then happens is that if people, the directors, for instance, they know that Mary will give you the answer as it is. It's not colored by any interest. It's not colored by, and she has done her homework. And that was what allowed them to build their trust in me. Even when I used to advise the board, even now I do advise the board on governance. And I get the feeling that they trust my opinion. Anything governance, they will come to me and they will always push the question to me. That debate will not be closed until they ask, Mary, what is your position on this one? What is your opinion? How should we proceed?
Yeah.
Now, on what degrees or when to advance, masters and all that, I must say that that's a personal decision. But I think for any person who wants to advance their career, I think the sooner the better. And especially these days, because we have customized programs that are allowing you to study when you are working. They allow you to study when you're bringing up children. So there's a lot of flexibility now. It's not like those days when you actually had to leave the country, travel, go for many years, and then come back. Then you've lost your job, you've lost your family. There are many opportunities now. So anyone who wants to advance to the next level, and not just for degrees. Now, there are so many courses that all of us can take on many things. So don't be idle at any time. I even my finance colleagues, I tell them, if you did finance, now look at things like upcoming, like cyber security, look at AI, look at look at very interesting. If they are lawyers, I'm telling them, have you looked at intellectual property? Have you looked at some of these upcoming areas, which are not yet very, what do you say, when there are too many people in them?
Saturated.
Saturated. So there are so many things you can do, not just degrees. So always make sure that you have something that is keeping your mind engaged and that is adding, because you may not use that knowledge today or tomorrow, but you will at one point be able to use, you will fetch that knowledge from somewhere at some point when some circumstance arises. So I mean, I always say when I talk to the young ones that learning is the only thing that the mind will never regret and the mind will never get tired of. So the more you do of learning, the better. Somebody wants to quit their job, to go back to school. The way Uchumi is bad. You have to do your maths. Because again, you have to see, if I quit my job, how will I survive? Will I be able to afford even to pay for that program? Or do I have, an alternative of part working, part learning, as I said earlier? So do your maths. Again, don't put yourself into a situation where kids are going hungry because you are going to school and yet you have a job today. So it is a matter of planning. On work and work-life integration, as we call it, we can do it. The only thing I would like to say on this one is that I don't consider it a 50-50 kind of apportionment. I always say that there's always the issue of the moment. When I'm working on a project in the bank, it's like life comes to a standstill because sometimes I have to work until midnight. But there are other times when there's no project and I can take my family out. I can take a holiday for a week or so. So it all depends. What you need to do is to just find that balance between your work and your family. And also remember, other than those two, those are the first two we talk about a lot. We also have your spiritual development and your emotional
Even your
needs
physical.
and your physical health needs also. So that balance is something you have to work out. But I always say that if you are disciplined enough to get your priorities right, then it will not become a problem. You will find the balance somehow. And for moms especially, mom guilt is always with us. You'll always feel that, oh, I need more time with the children. I need more time with the hubby. I need for the men. Maybe you are saying you need more time with the wife, That guilt is always there. And it's normal for any human being. But what is important is just for us to find the time and find quality time to do everything that we need to do. But if we also avoid the areas where we don't need to dedicate a lot of time, what we call the time wasters, time we consider just, wasting around and all that, then we have more time for the priority areas. So I think it's up to every individual to decide what are their priority areas, and then they focus on dividing the time that they have for that. That's how I look at work-life balance. The
There's
books.
A question on corporate. Okay, go ahead on the book.
Yeah, I wanted to just mention a few books.
Yes.
When I was very early in equity, the book that I read was The 7 Habits
That's
of
my
Highly
favorite book.
Effective.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's an old book, old
That
school
book,
maybe.
it's amazing.
But it has such great principles. So
It does.
that was one of the books that I read. Now, as I grow older, I am reading The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I'm reading The 5 a.m. Club, because I also use the lessons for my mentorship, the younger ones. And there are some things that I wish I had done when I was younger. So at every opportunity, I tell them, and it's more about that balance. 5 a.m. is more about the balance between career, work, and family and spiritual and all that. So it's also a very good book. Now, for the young ones, there's a book that my daughter has always loved when I mentioned, called Make Your Bed. Make Your Bed.
Yes.
I
know
think
that
everyone
one.
needs to read that book. It has 10 very great lessons, just on things. Risk taking, of course, taking calculated risk, boldness. It has one huge lesson on never quitting, despite how difficult things are. And it shows you how hard human beings can stretch themselves if they want to. We always say that what the mind can conceive, the body can deliver. So anyway, there are many books.
We'll do a session on books. By the way, we'll do a session where we just do books and just talk about books and everything. All of us can share, because all of us have read, and I really would encourage us to keep reading, because that's one way you can transform your life, from the books you read and what you apply from all those books. And on that note, we're coming to the top of the hour. There was a question about corporate politics twice from two different people. So maybe say something very briefly about corporate politics before I ask Grace, the CEO, to thank you and say something about our programs. Corporate politics. How do people handle corporate politics?
Yes. I knew this will come in twice. It always does every time.
It always does, yeah.
Now, what I say about corporate politics is that it will always be there. And what we must all do is, first of all, to understand, why are we here? So if I'm working in equity as I do, the thing I ask myself every day is, why am I in equity? Answer the why first. once I know that I'm here because I have a big role in terms of transformation, and there's something I have to do, for me to be able to achieve that dream together with my colleagues, then everything else becomes irrelevant. Because you see, at the end of the day, whatever duty that I am given in my role, I do it very well. Nobody can fault me. So if you have that perspective, instead of wasting time over tea, they always say during the tea break is when we share all the happenings and who did what, who was in with who, this. It's a waste of time. Focus on the why. Why am I here? Why am I in equity? For me, it's transformation of lives and livelihoods. What else you say, it does not matter to me. That's really what I would say. Focus, 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 and do the right thing and do it very well. In the boardroom, you earn respect when people know that you have done your research. You have the positions which are supported. If you are a lawyer, if you are a CS, a company secretary, you are advising the board on legal matters. The board knows they can trust you. And they will ask for your opinion irrespective. So what will define you in whatever position is the way you carry yourself as an individual, first of all, what you say, how you look, even how you turn out in the office is important. You earn respect and you don't compromise on your integrity. Once people know that, I tell you, they'll not joke with you. They will respect you, whether they like you or not. I always say that leadership is not a popularity contest. Leadership is about doing the right thing and doing it very well. That's what I say, Phyllis.
Amazing. Thanks for that. As I allow you to have your last remarks, you can give us a call to action, either on equity or your book or both of them. What is your call to action to all of us?
Anyone who hasn't bought The Village Girl, can you go to Nuria in the online bookstore and order your copy?
It's called
But I
The
also
Village
want
Girl.
to, yes, The Village Girl is on Nuria.
Okay.
I also want to really thank all my followers, my colleagues. I have been supported very well. And I really feel supported. And you see also, like now, the comments coming through, the questions coming through, either this forum or Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, I'm studying them each one by one because I will write another book.
Amazing.
And this is what is going to determine, are there some areas that I need to focus on? Because what I've written is just my autobiography, my life story. Now, the next book will be very thematic. So this helps me a lot in terms of defining what I'm going to write next about in more detail. Yeah, so I just want to say thank you very much for your support, being my cheerleaders, because I know I have a lot of cheerleaders. I really, truly appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Asante sana. And for those who are not members, consider being members. I have marketed on behalf of my friend, Dr. Mwai. Anyway, so Grace, I don't know if you're equity. If you're able to come on board, Grace, let me know. If not, I can wind us up.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you so much, Mary, for sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you for being a part of this. We don't take it for granted, and clearly we've been able to see what mentorship has done for you, and that you keep and you pass down the baton to others. Thank you very much. I'm glad we've come to the end of our second mentorship webinar. We started the webinar series last time with Joseph Choge, and now we've had Mary, and we have many more people to come. And as Phyllis said at the beginning, if you have anyone you'd like to come on board, let us know. Reach out to us on our Instagram at CareerSight, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can let us know who you'd like to hear their mentorship stories. Yeah. Just to let you know that we are coming to the end of the year, and as CareerSight, we usually have our quarterly career dialogues, and this year we have our last career dialogues coming up on the 2nd of December. We are going to give you the details. We are going to roll out the details soon on our social media platforms and on our community. This is also to let you know that we have a CareerSight community. If you're not a part of it, the link can be shared on the chat box, or you can also reach out to us on our social media channels, and I'm sure the link can be put on there. So thank you very much. We have a lot of programs coming up for you in the coming year, and we're going to roll out our CareerSight mentorship program 2024 during our career dialogues dinner. So be sure not to miss out, and we're looking forward to having all of you in our community. And to Mary, asante sana, and to the CareerSight team that is here, I'd like to thank all of you for making this a success. Matilda, Gesari, Billy, all of you, we'd like to thank you so much. Thank you very much, and have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Grace. And just for the date, the end of year dinner is on 2nd of December. My birthday is on 1st. So if you come, you'll be celebrating the birthday with me. Let Grace know if you want to attend. We only have 150 tickets. So let us know in good time. You can take corporate tables for your team. There'll be sponsorship packages also for those who are able to sponsor and have a platform to also talk about their services. So we'll be letting you know. But as we wind up, Mary, thank you so much. You've been such an inspiration, and God bless you for putting in this time. Allow me to end with a quote from your book on page 21. You say, if you can't figure out your purpose, figure out your passion. For your passion will lead you right into your purpose. Thank you very much. God bless you, and thank you everyone for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Good evening.
Bye-bye.
Evening. Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Mary.
Bye.